If she had only been ugly, we would still be.
Welcome back to Dov Davidoff on Dom Irrera live from the Laugh Factory.
Live.
May I say, Dov, I was here
Yeah.
Saturday night
Yeah.
when you and I,
Yeah.
along with a couple other
Yeah.
not as notable comedians,
That's right.
crushed, killed.
Yeah. There are a lot of adjectives that could be used to describe what went on in our back-to-back.
We're not braggers because it's
Yeah.
a gift. You knew that the bathrooms were out, right?
You know, I saw that the bathrooms went out. I didn't know until I saw tape across them saying that they were shut down. Meanwhile, the room's filling up. It's standing room
packed.
only upstairs.
Yeah.
And I'm going, how are you going to continue this? I mean, what happens 20 minutes into the show when, you've got a line, out the bathroom across the room, you're
Out
trying to
the
do
wazoo,
jokes.
as
But
we
out the
call it.
wazoo, they call it.
Good to see you, man.
Always good to see you, Dom.
Let me ask you,
I can't answer that.
all right, we'll go on to the next question. On a serious note,
Yeah.
is this funny?
Serious. Serious note. Do you think
What's-
you'll get this?
What's going on with the engagement?
The engagement is off. I'm still trying to determine whether or not. I mean, we
This is the
gotta-
longest
it's a
girl you've been
probation
with since
scenario.
what's that?
Yeah. Well, it's I think of we're seeing each other again, but I think of it as a probationary kind of scenario where if
She's on probation? It's very romantic.
it's very romantic. That's right. That's right. There's nothing she
Honey,
likes
I
more
love
than
you.
wondering
You
where. Yeah.
got 6 months probation.
Yeah, this girl can't get turned on unless you give her a piss test on Tuesdays and Fridays. It's a probation. We're trying to. I think she's on probation because I think I have plenty of issues, but they're not.
No.
No.
Stop that.
No, I'm not perfect, Dom. I'm not.
Get out. You're perfect.
No,
I'm telling you.
no.
I know perfection.
It only seems like that from the outside. I've seen perfection, and you are. It's there were some psychological blind spots that I have to. There were these strange passive-aggressive defensive responses to situations that resulted in this very circular, chaotic.
What about
kind
her?
of
Did she have any
communication? No, I'm talking about her. Dom, wait a second. You spun that around on me here. Now I look like
I did
the
the
bad
old
guy.
twisteroo.
Yeah, the old
The
twisteroo.
switcher.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you seem to get along better now that you're not engaged. Maybe you breathe
Well, right
easier.
now we do, but I think the reason for that maybe is twofold. One, she's been working on herself, and I'm trying to sort of be reflective about my involvement in the chaos. And then number two, we're not on top of each other in the same house.
She's not living with you?
She's not living with me, so
Well, how'd she get a place without...
it makes it. She rented a room in a friend's little
that's
bungalow
smart.
in Venice, and so she
Yeah.
lives 5 blocks away, but it's not with me, and just the idea that there's another room somewhere for her to escape to when things go south.
Are you allowed to go out with other
comforting.
people?
Well, it depends what you mean by other people, doesn't it? No.
No?
No, I don't think so. I mean, we haven't. No, I mean, we talked about it a little bit and then, sort of brushed it under the carpet. But I think
Well,
it's
it'd bother
nearing,
you if
it's
she
getting
slept
at the
with somebody,
point.
wouldn't it?
Well, it all depends on the person. We're talking about a white guy. I don't like white people. No. Would it bother me? Yeah, it would bother me. Although I could envision being with a woman for whom it would not bother me if she were psychologically set up in such a way that for her sex could legitimately be not connected at all. I mean, usually the women I know that could just fucking walk,
Yeah.
there's some other psychological horror show at work. But if you can actually execute that in the same way that I think of a number of men that can, no. I mean, the short answer is no. Nobody wants us thinking of a girl getting...
I saw a
you know,
lesbian video.
She could
where-
do it missionary, but not from the back.
I saw a lesbian video. I think it was fictitious. The
Yeah.
girl
Yeah.
found her girlfriend was cheating on her.
Yeah.
She found another woman's underwear.
Yeah.
So she sniffed it and started masturbating to it.
And
Then-
you thought that was fictitious?
Then when she caught her,
Yeah.
you know what she said to her? She goes, "Honey, I'm
She-
sorry. I'll never do it again. I love you." She goes, "No, call her.
Call her up.
I want you to fuck her in front of me, and then I want to fuck her."
Oh, I tell you, if ever somebody got back at someone else, that they really did the right thing,
That was
Yeah.
the plot. I mean,
Yeah,
what a writer.
well, it's a hell of a plot. I was on the video of a sub point said one time, and this girl, the plot was that she calls in 2 guys, and that she's turning 18, and she calls in two guys, probably in their 40s, to have sex with her, and the name of the film was called "I'm a Big Girl Now." So there's that, there's growth. I mean, it's not, these films are not just about, it's
No,
not just
people
sex,
yeah.
There's a story behind it, and it was a story about, it was essentially a coming of age story about a young girl in the valley.
The sickest one I've ever seen
Oh, God.
are the mother and daughter ones. And
I
they do a
know, but you
disclaimer.
can't help but like 'em.
They do a disclaimer like we didn't know it. They go, listen, we're actresses. I'm Tiffany Ginger, and this is Pepper
Disclaimer,
Wilson,
yeah.
and we're not really mother and daughter. But we're going to call each other mom, and
Right. No, thank
For the
God
sake
for
of
that
the art.
disclaimer. Yeah, no, for the sake of the art. And also, I think,
You're going to do stand-up?
well, just a little bit. I
Thought
want
you
to
were
run a
gonna
couple of bits
do
by
5
you,
minutes
though.
for these people.
Okay. Hey, anybody ever been to Pizza Hut?
Oh, hey, I have.
I have. Wait a second. We like pizza.
I love food.
The thing about comedy for me, Dom, is it's got to be safe. Otherwise, it's not funny.
You know what, I love the way you go on because the way you go on, you could follow anybody. Because you take so much time in setting up.
Yeah.
The audience is already into you. Like, this guy.
Well, they're wondering what's wrong.
Yeah, because instead of
So
going
they
out there,
reduce what I
pow.
do. Yeah, that's right. I lower expectations to the degree that by the time I get into it, they start to come around.
No, I've never seen you not have a good set, and I'm not saying that like the TV the show hosts to stroke you.
Yeah.
I never seen you have never been able to not follow anyone because of what you do. You just come. He comes up
Right.
here, he saunters around the stage like
Right,
he's
yeah.
looking for his keys.
Yeah.
He walks around, he turns around, he breaks every rule,
That's
every
right.
rule,
That's
and
true.
you're taught in drama school.
Yeah, that's true.
And
yeah.
then
It was the
he'll
opposite
just
of
he'll
what they
just
teach
blurt
you.
out with tits,
Right.
whatever, some word,
Yeah,
and then,
yeah.
and that gets a laugh because of the setup.
Yeah,
you know?
because of the setup. It's all the setup.
It's interesting how much technique we use. I don't even think you didn't
It's
consciously
fun.
do
No,
that.
you don't consciously. I did after following all those the people I had to follow. I thought maybe I shouldn't be, to go up and try and match the energy and the thing. And
Yeah.
it's a different voice. And I just followed a guy, who's probably very festive, which is not
Right.
my thing.
I
Or
w-
not,
On Christmas Eve, I did the Jewish show, and it was interesting because it was a lot of Jews, a lot of Muslims,
Yeah.
and some Indians, Hindus.
Yeah.
A couple of Christians, but not many.
Sure.
And Elon Gold,
Yeah.
who I love, was
Elon's
hosting
great.
the
Yeah, I
show.
wanna see Elon again.
And I come up and I don't even address the crowd. I just go to him. Give me that cock. Give me that
Right,
cock.
right.
Give me
Right,
that
right,
cock. Give me that little circumcised white cock.
Yeah.
Right. And the fuck. I was. It's so much fun how you can
Oh,
start
yeah, you can-
in some
If-
bizarre way and get them.
But it's one of those things. Once you know how to, you can break the rule, but not because you want to break. But you have to earn it. You got to
Yeah.
earn breaking the rule. If you just walk up and then there's no act to follow it, and then you're just another
Well,
moron.
yeah.
We'll be stomping around on stage.
Then
Like
you're
you have
Michael
something to say. There you go.
No, but I
it's-
mean, it is interesting, isn't it?
Yeah,
They
yeah,
know.
yeah.
It's like
They
a
know.
dog knows when you're afraid of it and when
They
you're
know.
not afraid of it.
But that's the part of the human. That's the part of the brain. I was watching this Surviving Progress documentary. That lizard part of the brain, that fight or flight stuff. That's what we're able to assess, even if we don't know it. We know whether or not
Yeah.
that person looks a little off, that person doesn't. That's the only thing the human animal is good at. I think identifying those little spaces.
Well, it's amazing what you can get away with
Yeah.
if they like you and trust you.
yeah,
You know,
gotta-
I mean,
yeah, they got to trust you.
I even said Saturday night. I think I actually offended myself on that.
It's not easy to do.
Somewhere I'm
I've always
offended.
thought you're not an easy guy to offend, and especially the second part of you that was offended by the first. That's not easy.
Part of your dual personality.
Yeah.
What's your favorite kind of room? Do you like theaters? Do you like clubs?
What kind of room? It doesn't matter for me. It's just what's going on that night between the audience.
See, I
It's
really
almost like
like
a
it.
sexual thing. It's
This
like,
is what I like the
yeah.
best.
Oh, these are great. You get an upper
You can see
level.
The balcony is.
The setup is great.
Yeah.
The room's great. There's no doubt about it.
I had this discussion with Seinfeld, Jerry Seinfeld from
Yeah.
the Steinfeld show.
From Steinfeld.
And he said to me, I don't understand why people can't sit in their hands for an hour and a half and listen to me in the theater. I said, that's exactly what I don't want. I
Oh,
don't want them sitting
no.
on their hands. I don't want
Oh,
them really,
no.
I want to be part of their night. I
Yeah.
want them to also be going, hey, pass me that beer.
Absolutely,
And,
yeah,
it's
to-
not
that's-
Elizabethan theater,
That's exactly how I feel about it. But maybe that's why Seinfeld's a guy who never seemed to want to talk about certain types of things. It's a little bit more removed, and it's a style that.
Oh, theater.
Well, theater and also his act.
Oh yeah, yeah,
You
that's
know?
true. It's
He's not
it's
getting
brilliant.
in underneath a lot of things that some guys like to get into. I mean, it's brilliant in its own thing, but
Yeah.
that doesn't require a lot of input, you know?
Yeah, he actually I thought showed more of himself in the series than he did in some of his foibles and laughing at
Right,
his
right, yeah,
indifference and
yeah.
everything
Yeah.
than he does in his act. Even though I think his act for what it is brilliant.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's like, I mean, even a Stephen Wright or something. Like, there are people, regardless of their act, or even in a tell, there are people, regardless of the act, you don't learn a lot about the person behind the act, but the act is great.
Yeah. Yeah. Who do you like watching? I don't mean the newsman you.
No, I was trying to think. It's a good question.
I know you like Ian Edwards.
I like Ian. I like to watch you. I like to watch Sebastian. Makes me laugh.
Yeah, Sebastian's from Bill
I like,
Burr's.
yeah, Billy, and I like Colin. I like Colin Quinn. I like.
Colin Quinn's interesting
Oh yeah.
because he can
yeah.
tank or he can
Oh
do
yeah.
great.
Well, I like it either way.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, it doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
he makes me laugh when he's tanking.
Yeah, yeah, and the I don't watch a lot of stand. I mean, I inevitably see a lot of stand up because I'm in the club and I gotta, somebody's on before me and somebody's on after, so I don't find myself watching a lot of it, but
Yeah, yeah.
I certainly enjoy it when it's somebody that makes me laugh, and that's not kind of often.
I love the moments up here. It's like
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't know if you were. I think you were upstairs in the back drinking when
Yeah.
we have a great time at the Laugh Factory. We have like a party sometimes. We're talking about how we're all on the road. Then once we get together, it was like 10 of us and
Yeah.
a lot of.
Yeah.
It was really a great night.
Wonderful
Jamie's
night.
up there with his I don't know whatever accent wherever the fuck he's from.
he's up there, all right.
But I had two
Yeah.
people right here.
Yeah.
And I couldn't tell. The woman was very radiant, like her skin's
Yeah,
beautiful
sure.
woman. Did you talk to them at all?
I don't think I
Okay,
specifically. No.
I said, "Are you guys on a date?" She goes, "He's my son."
Oh God, I heard.
And I
that.
said, "Oh, that's even kinkier."
right.
And
Yeah,
she
the
laughed.
disclaimer.
He didn't laugh.
Oh God.
And then
He should have laughed.
I talked about incestual dating and
Right,
stuff,
right,
and not to
right.
be ashamed
Oh.
of it. But I mean, I just thought to myself, how the fuck do you get away with shit like that?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
being able to talk about whatever.
Yeah.
It's one of the very few forums you can, right?
It's the way you approach it, because some
It's
people
the
get
way you handle it.
Yeah, yeah.
No, you got to handle it right. And also I think a lot of people that wonder why a joke doesn't work, even if it was decent. When you're making fun of someone as though that you have occupy some space of superiority, it takes on a very different flavor. You could do that same joke, but if you communicate it properly without a high hand, everybody can relate and open up. But otherwise,
Yeah.
they just close off, and it doesn't matter whether the joke's funny.
Well, I hate when comedians have to say, "I'm only kidding, folks."
Oh, shut the fuck up with that garbage.
I hope you're kidding, or you're a fucking asshole.
Yeah, I'm only kidding. But also, it was a bad joke.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not true. I mean, well, yeah, the kinds of people that I don't know. It's hard to imagine somebody good going there. I'm just kidding.
No,
folks.
but yeah, I've heard people say, no,
Yeah,
not
just
good,
kidding.
hacky.
Right,
I
yeah,
don't wanna
sure.
get
No, it's
into
the
the
worst.
names,
As soon
but
as somebody gets into
it's like the guy. I used to have a joke, and
these are only jokes, folks.
Yeah, right.
It's like,
Well, I'll tell you.
Yeah, right.
No, but he made it funny, but
Yeah. Oh no, but that's
Yeah.
different. He was the first guy to do it, and that was
Yeah.
part of why it was fun.
Yeah.
It was that whole thing,
Yeah.
that whole character. But if you're just telling straight jokes, and afterward you got to go, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
It's,
I was doing a bit
sometimes-
about magicians. When people go, they ruin it. Like they're going.
The magicians do?
Yeah, because I was at Comedy Magic Club one night, and I think it, kind of worked for a while. I
Yeah.
haven't done it for a long time, but the guy, how the people ruin everything. He's going. And his friend of mine's sitting there, and the guy's fucking brilliant
Yeah.
magician. He's going, "That's a trick." Like, he's a trick.
Oh, God.
And then I go, "I hope to
Yeah.
God it's a trick,
Yeah.
or he's a warlock, and I'm
Yes,
out of
that's
here."
right.
Are you
That's
kidding?
right.
I'd be blessing myself if
Could
this
you
was
imagine if we're in a trick? What
kinda
we're in the
evil-
room with here?
Yeah.
When we met the first wizard in all of Los Angeles. Yeah. That was I heard a podcast with a guy, I'm forgetting his name, but Nate Bargatz. And he was talking about how his father is a magician. It was one of the funniest things that I'd heard. One of the funniest, because it was funny on so many levels. His father was a magician, and they were out at like a magician's gathering with other magicians.
Uh-huh.
But then this one guy who's doing card tricks at all the tables didn't realize that they were a table full of magicians better than he was. So he comes over to do card tricks.
And they,
Yeah, and he's doing to a bunch of stone-faced magicians. you know, and then it's that awkward thing. It's not only his father, it's the other magicians at the table, and then being a magician's funny, and then this magician wants to show the other magicians a trick, and nobody's telling each other that they're magician. You know, it's interesting.
I had a guy that
I cough.
a group of people. It's right there.
Oh yeah.
Group of people. They were magicians,
Yeah.
and they're talking to me about it. And then a guy does that. Hey, Tom, what time is it? And I go, and they took my watch. I don't even remember anybody touching me.
It's incredible.
You know Ernie Adams?
Yeah.
All right. One night he was like kind of mouthing off at this guy who's supposedly one of the greatest
Sleight of hand
close-up magicians in the
Yeah.
world. And he said, "Why don't you take my watch?" To him. Can't remember the guy's name. Great guy.
Yeah.
He says, "Well, how can I take it when you know I'm going to take it?
Right.
It's just a trick. Of course I
Yeah.
can't take it."
Yeah.
So 20 minutes goes by. He's going on stage, and he goes, "Orny, what time is it?"
Oh,
and Orny
no.
goes,
That's
I
fucking.
don't remember even him getting
Oh,
near him.
that's tremendous.
Fucking incredible.
It's incredible, isn't
Yeah,
it?
I don't remember him getting near.
It's
I don't know.
incredible.
He
I
didn't
would've thought
bump
it was
him. Nothing
impossible.
happened. He didn't act like something.
Incredible. It's incredible when somebody's able to do that. I mean, it really is incredible. Good magic is magic. It's magical.
It's majestic.
It's majestic. It's magical. It's
I
like a
like-
mountain.
I do like it. I like to watch. And I know this might be really hacky. To say,
I'd go
but-
into that. What's it? The Magic Castle.
Oh,
you
that's
know,
great.
The private club. I want to go in there.
You never went in?
Never been in.
Oh, we'll go.
Never been in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jason Alexander's a member.
Oh, yeah?
And he's got me tickets. Not to be a name dropper.
Yeah. I mean,
Uh,
it sounds like it'd be an interesting.
No, you have to have
experience. You gotta be
somebody,
a member.
or a member has to pay.
Has
You
to-
know,
right.
And you have to wear a tie.
Right. As
I-
well, you should.
That was I was frantically scraping for a tie that I wore in
Yeah, that's right.
the late '80s.
Well, if you're gonna get your watch stolen by a magician, you want to be dressed right.
But I like that. I like everything but ventriloquism.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Although, even if good ventriloquist, if somebody's really good at something, I can watch it.
Well, Otto and George make me
ventriloquist.
laugh.
What's that?
Otto and George.
Otto and George. Yeah,
that's
yeah.
fucking
Oh,
hilarious.
sure, it's
Otto and
funny.
George is X-rated ventriloquist, and that's the one that got the puppet stabbed because he called the puppet called the Puerto Rican guy a spick,
Oh God.
and the guy takes out a knife and he stabs the puppet and he goes, "You're okay, man, but fuck him." He does that, right? That's the
That's
legend.
fucking hilarious.
Yeah, I think that part of it's true, part of
Right,
it's
right,
just
right,
good
yeah.
punchline.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear he's had a dicey life. Yeah, what do I know?
Oh, him?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He's had major drug problems.
Right.
It's
But
funny.
well, the funny. I mean, listen, drug problems can be funny or not, but when you involve a puppet, they're always.
Oh, yeah.
You don't have to go far to find a good story.
I've never met a guy who has puppets who wasn't crazy.
Well, you gotta wonder. I mean, think of how many hours alone you are talking to yourself with a puppet.
Yeah, and actually personifying
You're
them.
trying to get it right. I mean, that doesn't happen in front of everybody all the time. You got to sit in a room for, I don't know how long it takes to work up an act as a ventriloquist, but, you're in there with looking in the mirror, talking
Yeah.
to a puppet.
And the idea that people get mad at the puppet and they're not mad at the
Hilarious.
guy.
Hilarious.
And there's no sexiness to it. There's
The puppet?
There's no sexiness to a
Very hard.
ventriloquist.
No, it's,
You know.
it's not what they do.
But I mean, a woman, you never hear a woman going.
No. Very rarely you hear anybody bragging about
Look at
fucking
him. Look at him not moving his lips.
No, there aren't a whole.
Look at him up there, Mr. Fancy
Yeah.
Mumble.
Yeah, it is difficult to imagine. She could have gone for the guitar player, but then
I don't think
the
that
guy
ever
talking
happened.
out of a wooden puppet
He'd
caught
have to
her
be a
eye.
re- He'd have to be a really bad guitar
Yeah,
player
it'd have
to
to be
lose.
it'd be a hell of a loss. Yeah.
Now, do you miss messing around on the road?
Yeah. Sure,
I thought you were going to say no.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
So, has it been tough for you?
Yeah.
What do you do? Just not hang out, not put yourself in the first
Wow,
line?
I try. I haven't been back in the relation. I haven't been in that long, but to I mean, that's one of the, that was one of the things you have to look forward to. Not the doing it, because the doing it's often anticlimactic, but the possibility of it.
Yeah.
It keeps you going a little bit. It's all we have is hope.
We only have the hope
Yeah,
of that
that's all we
day.
got.
All we have is today and hope.
And we got to hope.
All we have is today,
Well,
a
and
couple
also
nice dinner.
It's that thing where you're on the road, you're alone all day, and often for a couple of days, and then you get there and your peak energy levels
Yeah.
at midnight, and then you wanna talk to somebody because you don't want to run back to the room, and you got these people that want to talk about fucking. You get people from the audience that
You know what's
yipping
nice,
about
like
something.
Columbus.
Yeah.
Columbus is a perfect gig because if you pick up a girl there,
Right.
take
it's
her
right
back,
there.
and it's
Yeah.
you don't have to get a cab or drive.
Right.
and-
Yeah, there are a few gigs like that.
Did I tell you?
Louisville and
Oh, I don't know Louisville.
and Hilarities in Cleveland.
Oh, Hilarities, yeah,
It's
perfect.
right there, the Hyatt.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Did I tell you about the girl that I was making out with my 10, and her boyfriend.
Tell me about it.
Her
Yeah.
boyfriend picked her up and wanted to meet me.
Oh God, yes.
Did I tell you that?
Oh, that's a hell of a tale.
Yeah. No, I'm basically I'm in bed with this girl, and she goes, "My boyfriend's a big fan of yours. He's picking me up." I said, "You're fucking kidding me, right?"
Yeah.
She goes, "No, he wants to meet you." So we go down. All right.
Yeah.
I go meet him, and I got like lipstick on my neck, and her hair's all messed up, and
Oh God.
she's, hi, Dom, this is Brent. Hey,
Yeah.
Brent, nice to meet you. Oh man, really a pleasure. Always like your stuff. Holy
Yeah.
shit. Yeah, your girlfriend's great. Thanks, thanks for your girlfriend for the last 20 minutes.
Yeah. I wonder if they were swingers too. It's like I knew a swinger that he was at a play. He had sex with him and his buddy had sex with this guy's wife in front of the guy. And then after they're done, they're walking out. The guy says, "Thank you." My brother, he says, "These guys, thanks for fucking my wife. You made her night."
That's nice. It's nice when you can help somebody out like that.
Well, yeah, no, yeah. I mean, he's a generous guy,
Now,
But
your
he
brother.
said that I don't know, the year before on her birthday, he got her 9 guys. That's what the guy said. about
9
his
guys?
wife. That's what he said. He said she fucked
Wow.
7 guy on her birthday. It's like, it's a hell of a.
Happy
You know,
birthday.
I've heard about somebody ringing in, celebrating a holiday, but that really takes it to the
I
next
gotta
level.
get fucked over 8 times.
Yeah, that's right. That's
Now-
right. We're gonna top out last year.
Did your brother is a swinger? Or
No,
was?
no, he's not. Just for a little while he was he was going to school and college, he got involved with this girl who was in the swing game, and he really.
It's really
yeah,
a
he had
different
some
world,
interesting
isn't it?
experience. It is because it's a whole different set. It's a different culture. It's a whole different set of mores and guidelines. I told you there were the swingers that came back to my place. I had those people, off-premise club and on-premise club, and
Right.
off-premise. It's they meet there. These like-minded people. They all meet up, and then they go somewhere else. On-premise, they have mat rooms. They're doing it
Right,
there.
right.
But off-premise, they met up. We all went back to my room. I couldn't join in my apartment. I couldn't join in because I was having a threesome with my girlfriend at the
I
time.
couldn't join it because
So I couldn't join any of the festivities. But I went out to get a glass of water because it gets stressful in there. I went out to get a glass of water, and the girl came up to me. She goes, "Thank you for having us over. Would you like a blowjob?" And you couldn't help but think somebody who knows how to treat a host. Finally, finally somebody who knows how to conduct themselves in another man's home.
I remember
funny.
seeing people. James Stevens III. You know who he is?
Yeah, I think so.
Comedian. We're in Vegas, right?
Yeah.
Doing a comedy store.
Yeah.
And he said that he knew these swingers. Now I
Sure, yeah.
don't think he did it. He didn't do it when I was there, and I went there with my girlfriend. We were very curious.
Yeah.
It was very bizarre because mostly everybody else was dressed and drinking and eating. And there were a couple people.
You guys were going to a swingers club, or you were just
No,
going to
no,
meet a few
it was
swingers?
it was a suite at Caesars.
Oh.
And like there was one
Oh, yeah.
people that 4 people were on the table.
Yeah.
And one guy was fucking his girl from behind, and the other
Yeah.
one's getting blown by this girl.
Yeah.
And the guy, it cracked me up because he was looking almost like for a ship to come in. He's like almost
did-
like this look.
That faraway stare in
Yeah,
his
yeah.
eyes. Was he just not interested, or he was having
I
such
don't
a good
know.
time he didn't want to
Maybe-
look down because he was
yeah.
going to come too fast?
Maybe. But it was
You know.
just, they're very bizarre because, like in the porn
Yeah.
movies, everybody's naked.
Right,
You
yeah.
know, porn,
sure,
so everybody.
yeah. No. With these people, they're sitting around. Some people are at the buffet, and then other people are going at it on top of a table.
That's what this is like.
Yeah, I know. They're nutty. It's a fun environment to be in, if for no other reason, almost like a cultural anthropologist, like somebody who's going in just looking at the sort of diversity within our culture and going, that's an interesting way to live your life. So you guys are
Yeah.
fucking on a table. These people are enjoying shrimp, and nobody
meanwhile,
sees that being an issue.
There are guys fucking somebody through a sheet, a hole in a
Yes,
sheet.
yes.
There's Was that the Amish or the
Well, that's
the
what they said.
Hasidic?
I've heard rumors like I don't know
Yeah,
if
I don't know if
that's
it's true
actually the
either.
case, but I've certainly heard about
If
it.
you know, please
Yeah,
at
right.
Dom Irrera.
Right in. At.
tweet me.
Yeah, tweet.
What do you got coming up, Dov? Any clubs? Anything you want to plug?
Yeah. I'll be where I'll be. I'm busy here for the next couple of weeks. I'll be in Kansas City at the end of the month, and then 3 days after that, at the end of the month, the 30 through Feb 2nd or something, in Stanford and Sons of Kansas City, and then the weekend after that in Edmonton, in Canada.
Are you working for Stroop at all?
Probably coming up at some point. I
Because
don't know
got.
offhand, but I always like Dave.
It's pretty funny because I do this gig and yeah, me too.
Yeah.
And it's every month there's this Italian social club that gets
Yeah.
together,
Yeah.
and they're good guys, and they all. So we plan it around where I can go to dinner with them, and they come in.
Great. Yeah.
Last year I went and they were having elections, and there was
Yeah.
a fight, fucking fight, like a real fight
Where?
at the Italian social club.
Oh, at the club. Yeah.
I mean, it was hilarious because I went up and did a
Yeah.
couple minutes, and I'm like, hey, tough club. I was like, fuck you, you shut the fuck up,
Right.
you motherfucker.
Right.
You know, I couldn't believe it.
Was it? Were you up during the fight, after, or before?
I was there the whole time.
No, after. I mean, the material when you did a few minutes.
After.
After, yeah. Yeah, it's always interesting
Yeah.
going up after
Yeah.
a fight. Everybody's got to settle down psychologically in order to laugh. You know, the laugh
Yeah.
part of the brain is walled off because you.
And the one guy who he just wouldn't shut up. He wouldn't.
The-
He wouldn't leave. He wouldn't shut up.
Oh, the guy who got in a fight wouldn't
Yeah,
shut
yeah.
up. Was he drunk?
Probably.
Yeah.
He didn't look drunk, but he was probably drunk.
Yeah,
he
yeah.
wasn't stammering or anything.
Yeah, right. Yeah. It's interesting the effects that alcohol and/or an abusive childhood has on people.
Yeah, pot doesn't seem to have the same effect, does it?
It sure doesn't.
You never hear of a pot
It
fight.
sure doesn't. No.
Fuck you, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. No, the pot is yeah, you gotta think. I wonder why there was such a drive. I mean, prohibition. They tried to outlaw alcohol, but they weren't able to do it because of all the public pressure.
Yeah, you couldn't do it. It's impossible.
But what is it about marijuana that people don't seem to be as passionate about? You know, I guess drinking has been a part of the culture for longer. Because
Oh, yeah.
clearly you can't argue that the effects of alcohol are more deleterious than marijuana. So you wonder why.
Yeah, the only thing marijuana does that I see is make people a little bit deluded and apathetic. But not
Yeah.
everybody, but, you know,
Yeah, and they also.
makes them talk about doing things as opposed to getting things done.
Yes, there's a lot of that.
know?
Sure, yeah. I mean, but if you had to weigh one evil against another, you know, that seems to be the least of all evils.
I don't think it's close.
Yeah.
I think pot is much better for you than
Yeah, I think
alcohol,
you're
and I
right.
don't even smoke pot.
No, I know. I'm not that into it either. You know, I just never have been. It's not that I'm opposed to it. I just don't. I'm not crazy about the way it makes me feel.
I don't like
generally.
smoke.
Yeah, I don't mind
like-
smoke. But I don't like to. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I had that. You know that bit about you know the weed. The idea that it's illegal, and some senator said it's a gateway drug. That's what
that's
they've said,
bullshit.
you know. And I was like, a gateway drug, fine. Like, let's say it is a gateway to other kinds of behavior. What's alcohol? Is it
A gateway to death.
it's a gateway to healthy choices?
Yeah,
You know,
right.
to a
It's a gateway
bottle-
to liver disease.
Yeah, you're halfway through a bottle of vodka. You're like, I'm either going to get in a fight or take a continuing education class at a local.
You don't get feisty when you get. I never
When
saw
I
you-
drink?
Yeah.
No, I mean, you know, listen, it's happened, but not because I don't get. I don't get that kind of intoxicated.
But you're fucking hilarious when you have. I love when you. I know you so well that when you get annoyed by having too much responsibility with socially
God.
with people.
Kills me.
Well, you know, you 10 people want to come in and see you,
It's
and then you got to deal with them, and you're fucking. Oh, I can't
I
wait
just
till they
left a
leave.
family reunion, you know, and I you know, on my mother's side, you know, sweet people, but I'm not, just not that good, you know, socially with groups. It's not my thing.
You start brooding. I see you like on.
Yeah, it's you know, and I want to. If people are there and I'm laughing or something, it's fine. But once it's something about a group, the conversation. Unless if it's here and you and Brian and Anthony, you know, then it's fun. But on average, you know, my experience with the average social interaction with more than a few people is relatively negative. I don't enjoy it. And I don't
Yeah.
enjoy parties. I don't enjoy. You know, I mean, if it's a party and there's someone there, that's the thing about the road.
Yeah.
Afterward, if I'm trying to fuck a girl, then there's a reason to be there. And some of the social needs are being met, albeit in a deficient way. But if that's off the table, now I'm just, now it's sort of, I mean, I don't mind hanging out. If you meet somebody cool, if you're hanging out with, I was hanging out with
That woman the other night. It was fucking hilarious.
Dallas.
When you said Mussolini in a dress.
Oh, God.
But
But sometimes it's funny talking to somebody that crazy, She
said
said talking about how if she were raped, she probably wouldn't mind because she doesn't. Something about sex. And so part of me is just trying to do the
I was so
the
surprised to
psychological
see you
math.
sitting there alone with her.
Well, I was sitting at the table, and there's a lot of yipping, and then I got up and I walk around, and she gets up, and she starts talking and saying crazy shit. And so I like to hear whether or not she's... Every now and then you meet somebody who's crazy and still smart.
She was crazy.
She was just crazy.
Yeah, when she started
But she wasn't interesting crazy.
No.
She's got
but there was a bit fascinating about her approach to life.
Yes.
That she hated sex. She
Right.
found it repulsive.
Yes.
And yet she had a nose job, fake
Yes.
tits, no ass, anorexic.
Yes.
She
Yes.
obviously cared a lot about her looks for somebody who didn't care about sex.
Well, but I think they often go hand in hand. I think people that were sexually abused, I mean, statistically, this is the case. They often become over-sexualized or under-sexualized. So part of them sees their only value as aesthetic, which would account for the plastic surgery and the anorexia. The aesthetic, that's the only value they have. And the no-sex part of it accounts for another place that they were molested, they were abused, something happened.
You think she was molested?
I don't think you get to that wacky without having had some kind of trauma. It may have been sexual, it may have been another kind, but
Right.
I think that's
Yeah,
consistent.
no,
I
something
think it's
fucked her up.
consistent with sexual trauma, and also it's like porn people. It's what I've noticed about, and I haven't met that many. The average porn woman is one, they're not that bright. And on top of that, there's this desperate need for attention. If you've ever hung out around with somebody that just doesn't really get what's going on and they want attention, it's a very dangerous alchemy because now you behave in ways. You make a fool out of yourself, and it feels okay to you because you're getting attention from somebody.
She made such a fucking big deal about not wanting to be.
That was her thing, of not wanting.
deal.
Yeah, I don't like sex.
Yeah.
And it was like the anti talking about sex. Like you're getting attention based on sex. Because you said you don't like it or you don't want it, but it's not honest.
Let's take a picture of you.
It's not honest.
Look at that. Oh, it's terrible. So fucking retarded.
Oh, you're good with a phone.
That was a fun night, man.
Yeah, it's fun.
I like Anthony.
Oh, Anthony's great.
So you think
it's
we'll
fun.
do that movie?
Yeah, I do. I
don't
think
even
so.
talk about stuff unless it really happens.
No
And
reason to in this business.
Yeah.
Once you've been in it for a while, there's no reason to. If you can talk about it, meaning logistics, and in a way that furthers the project, it's one thing. Otherwise, to fucking yipper about that, I don't talk about even after it's done. I don't.
Yeah. Remember that Name Dropper special where I met Renee with De Niro there?
Oh
and
yeah,
Sean Penn.
yeah, sure.
And it was, first of
Yeah.
all, it's very interesting to me how people react when you have a movie star of that caliber around.
Well,
Sean Penn. I went to dinner with him
Yeah.
after he came in here.
Yeah.
And it's fucking incredible to see people
Right.
who are, beautiful, established kind of personalities.
Right, but
Get
there's a
it.
reason for that. I don't think, I thought about that a little bit. I don't think it's that interesting, the idea that people get treated a certain way. It's no different than seeing a cheetah. David Lee Roth, we shared the deck together in the building, and you don't get any bigger
You liked
than
him,
that.
right?
Very much so. Yeah, we were good friends, and Dave doesn't have many, friends. He doesn't hang out with a lot of people. Well, over the course of 2 years, I mean, you rarely saw people coming up for just strictly social visits. He was an actual friend, and I think it's all so much less interesting than people make it out to be. I think it's a lot like a wild animal. If you walk a cheetah through this fucking building, everybody in here will be blown away.
Yeah.
You walk that cheetah through tomorrow, the next day, and then let it go live with somebody for 3 days. There's a cheetah. No different with Sean Penn. They're responding to something else. If somebody was responding to actual sort of talent and sort of something he read and he's thinking about character, and then you want to get involved in a conversation, that's something different. Then you're engaged by what you're actually talking about. The movie star thing, after meeting a number of people, the people that still get wobbly, I don't think they've done the thinking. I don't think that they've
Yeah, it's
thought
amazing.
about it.
I don't.
I'm also, in general, not super impressed, but I think he's tremendous. There are some people generally impressed by, but that's about the work.
Yeah.
I could be as impressed by somebody that nobody knows.
I remember when I started out, and Frank Sinatra was still alive.
Yeah.
And he was working the main room, and I was working the lounge.
Yeah.
And the guy who booked him and I said, "You want to meet Frank?" I said, "Not really." I
Yeah.
said, "But I'd love to watch his rehearsal."
Absolutely.
That's all I wanted. You know.
Gore Vidal, great writer, thinker, said, I no longer want to meet any of the people whose books I adore because it's generally kind of disappointing. You know, if you go
Oh,
hang out
yeah.
with Sean Penn, I'm sure he's got wonderful insights and he's a great guy, and I'd love the opportunity to work with somebody like, but to hang out, to meet somebody, to meet them, you know, they light up a cigarette, they're sitting there,
Yeah.
and they have whatever issue they're going through.
He's actually a lot more fun than you would think because of his image.
because
of,
how serious
of
and
the
all. I'm sure.
brooding. You know,
I'm sure.
he's like the actor version of you in some ways.
Oh, yeah?
Without the, I mean, you don't have the violent side that he had.
Right, yeah, maybe not. Maybe well, he was drinking, right? But I really I tell you, all the years after a few years in Hollywood, after having met any number of people, it's like there are people that are good at what they do, and I appreciate that. But the idea of celebrity, I think, is such a fucking bag of wind. I think it's there because it helps sell it, right? I mean, that's how you sell a movie. You sell
Yeah, of course.
you know, if people weren't. But it also is connected to something very false about our culture. It's, you know, the idea of being impressed because someone's on television, because 50 million people know their name, it's not a reason to be impressed. There's nothing impressive about the average reality show person, right?
Oh, my
Sean Penn's
God.
impressive because he's impressive. Nobody knew the guy's name. He's fucking good at what he does.
Yeah,
and
he's
he's really
terrific.
interesting, and he's smart.
Yeah.
But you know, the average television, whatever. I mean, we live in a culture where people, you know, they get that same response around somebody that they've been watching on a reality program,
Yeah.
which means it's
Snooky.
unfortunate. Yeah, they don't get it. It's not.
Yeah. Wait, you know what it hit me, Dub? During the OJ trial,
Yeah.
and I realized that all these people
Yeah.
were more famous than all the talented people I met.
No doubt about it.
Except
Kato
for like
Kaelin.
Seinfeld and a couple people that really hit big.
Yeah.
But all the, like Colin Quinn, like we both love him.
Yeah.
Like Colin, nobody knew him then.
Sure.
And yet Kato Kalin, who I happen to like Kato,
Listen,
but I
it's
mean he didn't
TV,
really
man.
do anything at the time.
TV.
But a house, what was he like, the house guest or
Yeah, he
whatever?
lived in the guest
Lived in
house.
the guest house.
Yeah.
I mean, Kato
Yeah.
was a household name.
Sure he was.
You
This
know.
is the culture we live in, you know? It's like, I heard somebody say, some reality show girl, I think she said something about, she said, he was talking about fame. It's another thing with porn, too. But fame, and as if fame equates to something positive. It can, but it doesn't. And she said something about, well, even the president knows my name. I was like, I know Charlie Manson's name. Doesn't mean I
Right.
want to fucking sit down with him or hang out with him, or it doesn't mean I think he's a good guy. Don't ever equate fame with value. It'll throw everybody off.
I think that swastika was a mistake.
I think it was a mistake, but you know what? It was a nice tat. Cost me a couple of bucks, not much, and still good work.
But I mean, he has it right here.
The
you know,
Manson.
Manson.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, you know, it really it tends
That
to
might have been a
alienate.
mistake. Yeah, I
tends
know
to
it.
alienate
It
people.
does.
If
It
you ever
does.
noticed that?
Yeah, people get the wrong idea.
They really do.
They get the wrong idea. You know, it's that's the inability to differentiate between positive and negative attention that I've noticed with porn people, or even like that wacky girl. If you're getting attention because you're wearing a funny hat and you have no clothes on, it's not a positive form of attention, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
And I hear these people. This porn chick. They keep talking about fame or being recognized as if that in and of itself has value. If you get recognized because you got a fucking interesting act and people are talking about it,
Yeah.
you've worked for it and you get it and it's thoughtful and you had to work at it. It's a different level of humility. If you're doing it because you walked across a television camera or you have big titties,
Well,
I mean, it's just such a negative component of
They
our
need so
culture.
much attention too. I always notice strippers and
Oh,
they
God.
always sit in the front. They always want to talk.
Always. They're dying. They're craving attention.
I want to shift gears for a second, just because I want to tell you about my background in the sense that when I grew up, we were never anti-Semitic,
Yeah.
but we had an idea. Honestly, that I had an idea that Jews, and this is where you're an interesting character.
yeah.
Jews were basically doctors
Right.
and dentists and
Yeah.
lawyers,
Yeah.
and that's what Jews were, right?
Yeah.
That's and we were never anti-Semitic. There was never a bad word said about Jewish people.
Yeah.
And then when I went to New York, I met
Yeah.
people like you,
Yeah.
who were kind of blue collar Jewish.
Oh, yeah,
You know what I
sure.
mean? I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah. You
and
didn't
like-
come over into Ellis Island, start as a doctor here.
Yeah, but you grew up in a junkyard.
I grew up in a junkyard, yeah. My father was, my father's 8th grade education. Grew up in a junkyard. My mother was intellectual, but she was a WASP. She was a,
Your mother was a WASP.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but I grew up around. My grandfather was born on Houston Street. You know, I mean, I think he'd been to prison, and you know, in the 30s. I mean, you know, there's lots of Jewish professional fighters. I mean, they're not
Yeah, yeah.
known for it, but I mean, it's certainly
And
well
baseball
documented.
players
It's well documented. Yeah, a few, but also the difference is Jews come from a much more intellectual culture, even the uneducated ones.
Oh yeah.
So when you come from a Talmudic culture, Catholicism is about not questioning. The Jews come from a culture that involved questioning. Even the reason they became moneylenders, and they are these fucking snakes.
True bears.
Yeah, they'll take it right out of your pocket. Is because they weren't allowed to own land. They couldn't become farmers. They don't
Really?
come from agrarian communities. No, they had no country.
Yeah.
So you go into diamonds. You go into a business with something you can put in your pocket, and it becomes what you can do in your head. And if you look at the culture, it's not a genetic difference. If you look at the culture as over time, I was reading an article the other day. You know, Jews are, I think, they're a fraction of the world's population. You got about 4 to 9
It's
million
unbelievable.
worldwide.
It's
Do you know they
unbelievable.
account for 30 to 40% of all science awards, literary awards,
Nobel
business,
Peace Prizes.
Nobel Peace Prizes.
Yeah. I think it might even
It's
be more.
so
Nobel Peace
overrepresented.
It's unbelievable.
It's
Yeah.
absolutely.
Did you see that article in
crazy.
the New York Times? Is that where you got it?
I may have seen
I
one. I
saw
mean,
one.
this is relatively well documented. But when you look at the percentage differences, you're not talking about, you know, that they're 20% of the population and occupy 40% of the awards. You're talking about 100 to 1
Yeah.
percentages, you know. But it comes from that kind of culture.
Do you know the Sklar brothers? They're a comedy team.
The Sklar
brothers.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Anyway, I said to one of them, I said, "What is it about
That being
Jew-"
said, I don't relate to any fucking room full of Jew, or for that matter, any ethnic group. Groups, religion, every time anybody gets involved with a big group, they
Yeah,
all
yeah.
have this way that they're all copying from one another and trying to define
Yeah,
themselves
yeah,
by
yeah.
the group. I got nothing for groups. Good. Everybody go fuck themselves.
Yeah, I'll be at the Tropicana March 2nd in Atlantic City.
Come visit me.
Dub will be at Sanford and Sons. But I said to him, one of the Sklar guys, and I forget their names because they're twins.
Yeah, yeah.
I forget which one is which, but I said to him, "What is it about Jews that they're so accomplished as a
Yeah,
culture?"
yeah.
He didn't even hesitate. He didn't go, "What do you mean by that?" He goes, "Well, I'll tell you what it is."
Yeah.
You know, and he said, and his theory was, when we're kids, we're taught to work hard, and that people want to take stuff away from us, and we want to
Yeah, right,
accomplish
right,
things. And you know, basically, he gave
Yeah.
a very simple answer.
Yeah.
But he didn't at all was not at all surprised by the question.
Oh yeah, and it's also the lack of physicality, right? Like you look at sports, like there aren't that many Jewish professionals out there. There are a
But see,
few.
you're a boxer.
There are a few. Yeah, no, there are plenty of guys who can. But it depends. But I grew up in a culture that had reverence for those sorts of qualities. And if you grow up in a working class culture, that means something. If you grow up in a you know, I mean, if you go to Princeton day school or whatever, you grow up in a culture where to be able to fight doesn't. It's a lot of it is connected to even the things that girls like where you're at, right? So if girls are attracted to the toughest guy, then oftentimes people want to emulate tough guy. If they're attracted to the guy that's going to Princeton, it's a different kind of thing. I watched my brother leave the environment by the junkyard, and suddenly he got interested in school, internalized a different ethic, went on to get a PhD. I was thrown out of high school. It's extremely.
Did you graduate
cultural.
college?
I know. I was thrown out of high school.
And that was
I went
it?
to school. Yeah, I went in and out of college for a little bit. I even went to Rutgers, Newark for a little while. It was a wild joint. But no, I didn't finish school. I didn't finish school because I didn't see myself as doing something that was really connected to.
So you
to
knew you were going to
school.
be a comedian?
I didn't know it was going to be comedy, but I wasn't really hooking into anything in school, and then I got a job as a runner on Wall Street on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. And I said, if it's about money, I can make a lot of money here. And if it's about something else, then I got to find some soulful kind of thing that I'm connected to. And I spent a year on the floor, and I was like, fuck this shit.
Wow, I never been in there.
Yeah, just what you see in the news with everybody screaming and pits, 3,000 people on the floor hollering, to
So
try
what did you do?
make a
How did you
commission.
get to this level? Like, what
I
were
started
you-
the first time I did. I was banging this chick, and she had a friend, and we became buddies. And he was trying to do stand up, and he had booked a show. My first show I ever did was at the Duplex in the Village.
Yeah, I remember that
I was
place.
21. I was about 21, and somebody asked me to do a show. He thought it was funny. Asked me to do a show, And I always was trying to reconcile my environment. So for me, it was more about I don't know, sort of. I remember after my father died, sitting in a little apartment in Brooklyn, just reading philosophy, trying to figure out a way to to not feel as much pain emotionally, and then it sort of became overly intellectual to distance myself from other feelings. But then that put, but it was all connected, and at that time comedy became, if I could try to think about things, and it involved a creative and had a soulful aspect, which Wall Street doesn't have. I don't like being around groups. I'm in a fucking group of brokers, and individually, some of the guys were wonderful. I really like those guys.
Maybe this goes to why you don't like
Yeah.
the group upstairs as much as you like inviting some people, or you have to do business-wise. But maybe it relates to you in a little while, your personality.
Maybe a little
when
bit,
You
sure.
feel like trapped by the group.
Yeah, and if it's a group of people, creative people, it's like when I was around these groups, you get groups, these religious groups, a pack of fucking Jews. I came to see a ceremony here. I was like, oh, maybe I'll, come, and there's a sense of togetherness. So I go in, and there's all these pack of Jew have an annoying way about it. And then I was around at a Christian. I went to see a service. And these fucking repressed, they always have this waspy look on their face, and nobody's talking about what's going on, and they're very sort of physically there's distance, and, it's groups, I always, the people the frats, in college, religions are like a frat house.
Yeah, I never could
And so
join
are
a
ethnic
frat.
groups, It's like I love somebody who has, I like black guys who don't have an idea of what black guys are,
Or have
and-
to be black first. Like it's like
yeah,
that's
like
just
it's
part
this
of you.
thing,
I know.
It's like,
That's the guy. I think I told you this. Like the Red Buttons, that old comedian. that
yeah,
we-
Red Buttons.
He was the
yeah.
one that changed my whole philosophy. He told me, he says, don't be an Italian comedian. Be a
Yeah.
comedian who happens to be Italian.
Yeah, and you'll
And it-
bring all of that other good stuff,
Yeah.
except it'll be original as opposed to a fucking stereotype that's got
Yeah.
to play for it, and
I
you
know.
can still use it as a hook to market, which is fine.
Remember when black guys used to say, well, I guess you're happy I'm here. At least I'm not stealing your television.
Yeah.
That was like a joke.
Yeah,
like
no,
that
it was a
that was
running theme. Yeah.
running New York joke.
Yeah, it was that whole. It's like, and you can do that if you also, there's got to be another side. I mean, that's what makes somebody like Chris Rock a great comedian. He's clearly
Yeah.
not going to do just jokes about whatever,
Right,
regardless
and-
of where you come from.
But being one of them, being like one of the group,
Yeah,
you can get away with more. I mean, Chris
absolutely.
Chris can
oh,
do
there's
jokes.
no doubt about it. Are you kidding?
I mean, I know I was married to a Jewish girl, and when I was married to her,
Sure,
I could
you
do
go
more
and
jokes
sure.
that would have been considered
Yeah.
rude if I
Yeah.
wasn't if it wasn't family to me.
Yes, absolutely.
I became a temporary Jew.
Yeah.
In the sense of
It's like those any ethnic stereotype. I know we don't need to name names, but there's I hate those Jewy the guys that do that. And then there's this Italian guy, and his whole thing is about whatever fucking stereotype.
Oh, I know. It's just
And you're talking about 5% of Italians, and almost none in Italy.
the one that
you're
talks
talking
like,
about stereotype.
so we went over and got baseball bats.
It's always, and there's a number of guys that have done this,
Yeah.
but it's like it's the one thing, and it's like, have you ever been to fucking Italy? Number one, go somewhere in Italy. That's not how people. As a matter of fact, that's not how they behave here. It's not how there are certain neighborhoods where clearly that's the case. But if you don't service the other facets of it, then it's just a stereotype and it no longer has value.
Yeah.
If you say it like you're saying, like you're talking about, there is a thing, there is a neighborhood thing. The Puerto Ricans I grew up around, there was a fucking culture. But if once it becomes everybody's that, then it's just dopey, after a while.
It's bullshit, motherfucker. What's
Yeah.
up with that?
What's up with
What's
that?
up
Yeah.
with people who
Yeah.
say what's up?
And they do themselves a disservice because they're more interesting than that. Any individual, nobody follows a set of guidelines, It's like, there is a shared tribal thing, we're tribal. The human animal is very tribal. And there's shared traits and all.
But I feel like your therapist now, in the sense that we resolved the fact of how
Yeah.
upset you get about dealing with the group.
Right, dealing with groups, man.
Because
maybe
you
that's
always,
got
I've seen
something
you
to
bring
do with it.
people up there before, and I've seen
Yeah.
people want to see you, and it fucking aggravates the shit out of you.
Yeah, let's
You
get
get
it
them a
over. Let's
drink
get
and
it-
go,
let's get it
"Leave me
done."
alone.
Yeah, let's get it done. I've got a psychopath stripper to try to analyze over here. Can't, it's it's strange.
Did you find out anything else about that woman before we close? That crazy one who hated sex?
No. See, her thing. She has a sort of a schizoid disorder. Jessica's got pieces of it. There are girls that have been through a lot of trauma that have pieces of that.
Oh, she
And-
told you
and
that?
it's very subtle. No, I analyzed it. I looked it up
Right.
on YouTube, on the internets. I went on. I was googling personality disorders and looking at the number of them because there's this thing. It's very subtle. It's very insidious, and a lot of people are living with people that don't even realize that those are what they're afflicted by. These very passive-aggressive types. They can ruin lives.
Right.
There are lots of people that have gone through emotional abuse that is so acute and so traumatic that it's almost as bad as physical abuse. And it's like you get involved with somebody, and so now I'm really trying to watch people for what they're. It's a schizoid personality disorder, often brought about by a number of kinds of trauma, physical and emotional. But they pull you in close. They both want attention, but then they push you away. I don't know if you've ever been out with a woman, or this happens in romantic scenario, in relationship scenarios. But
Right.
there's this sort of, I want to be close, but now I'm going to behave in such a way that pushes you away.
Mm-hmm.
And it has to do with a number of components psychologically that result in that behavior. But it's fucking maddening. I don't know if Christy was a little. I don't know what their specific issues was, but schizoid is. And so I felt every now and then Jessica would be like, oh, I need help with something, whether it's a psychological question or it's something actual in life. And so I'd go to help her, and then her defensive part would go, oh, I get it, and sort of like brush it away. And I was like, yo, the fuck is going on? You ask me for something, I show up. And then suddenly it's like somebody invites you to a tennis match. You know, they hit the ball. You drove to the park to meet them. You hit the ball back to them. And then they turn around and they're gone. And you're like, you know, it's a tennis match where you got invited to, and then somebody else disappears into the, don't invite me to the fucking tennis game, yo.
I know. I
Fucking
told
animal.
I had a thing with Bill Burr one night. Yeah, I love Bill.
Yeah.
But we're at the Improv. He says, Dom, I got to get you on my podcast. He wants to come in. I said, Bill, I'd love to do it.
Oh, yeah. I remember.
Okay, so then 5 minutes later, I go, Bill, I'm available next Tuesday or Wednesday. He goes, hey, don't put the full court press on. I'll get you on the show. Like, you're the one that fucking asked me. Now I'm putting the full court press on?
Right. Right. That would be an element of that, yeah.
Yeah. Well, Dov, thanks for being on, man.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's always
How
a good
much
time.
better is a show without Jamie?
Well, it's a different type of show. It's a
completely
different type of show.
yeah.
It's no longer a variety show. No, it's a different type of show.
It is
When
amazing.
Jamie's on, you want to turn the Laugh Factory sign into a gong and then hit it every once in a while. But yeah.
So, Dov Davidoff,
Yeah.
thanks for coming on. And
Yeah, of
you'll
course,
be
yeah.
at Sanford & Sons.
I'll be at Stanford at the end of the month, and then in a comic strip in Edmonton after that, and then somewhere after that.
Where
in
can
Philly.
they
I'll
follow
be in
you?
Philly in March, and
What's your Twitter?
at Dov Davidoff or dovlive.com to go to your keyboard.
At Dom Irrera. I'll be March 2nd. March 2nd, go to that Tropicana. It's a killer show, and it's not because it's me, and I'm not a laugher, but I cracked me up.
But I cracked
Thanks,
me up,
Dov.
especially there. Of course, yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Bye, everybody.
And each time that I think of you, I get distracted by something more interesting. Whoa, people say I'm a loser, so what does that make